So the next time anyone asks what it's really like to get inside the mind of Mica, I'm just gonna show them my Notion space. Hey everybody, this is Mica Gonzalez, that's M-I-C-A Gonzalez with a Z, and I admit it, Notion is the best productivity app ever. For those of you who don't know what Notion is, because some of you did ask me when I posted on Instagram, it's kind of like an everything kind of app, productivity app. So it has everything you might need from note-taking, project management, database management, all that stuff. People do all sorts of crazy things on here. They make like life wikis, product wikis. People run companies from Notion as far as I know. But also it is a really great personal productivity app. And I have to admit, it's the best I've ever had ever. As far as productivity apps go, I like to think of productivity apps for like the long-term thing, like helping you plan out and foresee your to-dos for like, you know, the next few months and projects and stuff. And I also like to think about productivity apps for like being productive in the moment. And as far as Notion goes, it's definitely for the former. I can totally manage my entire life and project on this thing, but it also has some of that in the moment productivity that I mentioned, but you'll see in my Notion tour just exactly what I mean. So this video isn't going to be too crazy. Like the way I use Notion is definitely not like the most basic way, as far as I've shown other people and they're like, yeah, I would not have thought of doing that, but it also isn't the most crazy way. People like have command centers on that thing. They have like all these awesome stuff going on, and I don't run my life like that. That's not the way I think. So what I did do when I planned out my Notion, it took a few weeks of me, you know, testing things out, trying if this worked or not. So what I did, I had this specific goal for what I wanted to be able to do on Notion. And it was just a matter of figuring out, can I actually do it? Like, can I actually program Notion to do that thing? And the second part was, okay, if I can, how do I actually do it? That's definitely something I will tackle as we go along this tour. So let's get into Notion. Okay, so here we are. This is Notion. I'm going to start by showing you the parts of Notion, my own workspace, where I am the most, and then we'll just kind of take a tour around everything else. So the first thing that I like to do, I'll show you like my favorites here. These are the places where I think I am on the most. This is very interesting. I have a page, a workspace. I called it Focus Here, and it's just about the things that I have to do. This is my version of a to-do list. I used to try this on the timeline view, but then I realized so much of my to-dos were just one day things, so the timeline view didn't make the most sense anymore, and I just switched to a calendar view. And as you can see, all the things here are phrased as verbs, action words, you know, record, shoot, I'm doing a lot of shooting today, as you can see, or brainstorm and things like that. And the rationale for that is really because that's really how I do my to-do list. I used to use a physical planner back in the day, like when school was a big thing for me. And I really appreciated having dates of the week basically lined out for my to-do list. And so I wanted to mimic that. So that's why I poured everything into a calendar view instead of what I might have done before, which would have been like a Kanban board with like Monday to Friday, something like that. But I found that sometimes I want to plan way ahead in the month, so at least having this calendar view on Notion makes that possible. So that's why the view is like this, and that's why I do stuff like this. You might notice that a few of the items, a few of the cards on my task planner have a little accent thing. I'm not sure what it's called, a little marker. And I actually got this idea when I was thinking about how can I make a task appear right after a task that precedes it is done. I wish that Notion was like incredibly smart, that I could actually program it to say, okay, if I am done with this specific task, the task right after can actually pop up on my calendar. That can't happen as far as I know, but I did find a video about dependent tasks, like parent-child tasks from Notion. So this is actually how it goes. So if you see that I have a task with that little accent that I mentioned, that little marker, that means it follows a task. So in this case, this shoot Notion tour video, it obviously follows like this outline video, the Notion tour. It's just a way for me to organize things and make sure that I am doing things step by step. And the reason why I like having them as interlinked tasks is because I don't want everything to show up on my calendar. So if I am shooting the Notion tour, obviously that's something, next thing for me that I have to do is to edit that. And it's so hard for me to say, okay, I'm gonna shoot it and then I'm gonna edit it the next day. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Maybe I wasn't able to shoot today. So what happens is the editing gets moved down, and I don't want to have to move all those tasks. So the reason why I did it like this is because, for example, let's say I did this. Let's say I'm done with shooting the Notion tour. I'm technically doing it right now. So what I will do is I will go to the next up. This is a relational, this is a linked, what do you call it? A relation property on Notion. So what I will do when I'm done with the task and I see that there is a task lined up after this one, or if I logically know that there is a task lined up after this one, I will just create it on the spot, because that is a thing you can do here. So when that happens, if I know that I have already done this task and there is a task that follows, what I'll do, I'll click through to it, and then I'm going to give it a date. That's like the most important thing. So let's just say, for example's sake, I'm going to edit this tomorrow. So I'm going to edit it tomorrow. And for me, there's nothing next up after I edit a video, because I edit and then upload and schedule it. So there's nothing in the next up. And what I actually like about this is I can also just click through to back to where I was, and then I can successfully check it off and it's pretty much done. I'm just gonna check it off because technically I am shooting this video, so that's where we are. So let's get into the specifics. Let's get inside the card. So every property that I might have, how it works and stuff like that. So over here, I just like to put priority because Notion lets you sort the things, and I want to see whatever my first priorities are, because those are the things that I want to get done first in the day. That's actually how I lay out my planner. But like with a physical planner, it's kind of hard to rearrange things that you wrote down in a list. So I like that on a digital planner like this one, you can do that same thing. So I do have priority. I will always put a date when I'm going to do the thing. I will link it to a project. Usually it depends on what kind of project. We'll get into my projects list later, but just depending on what that is, I'll click it. It is another relational database. I am in love with that whole thing. I could not do this on anything else that I tried, by the way. On Monday, on Trello, there were things that made it come close, but not like this, not like Notion. So that's why Notion's the best. So when I click through here, you're gonna see that there are a lot of properties that are empty, and for good reason. Those will actually come up again later. We'll see where most of this goes, because I know right now, I know that seeing this whole thing, this seems pretty basic. This looks like just a to-do list in a calendar view. But trust me, there's a lot going on deep down here. I also want to point out why I call this workspace focus here, and it just has to do with everything else already on this to-do list, and it's action words. So whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm like sitting down and I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to be doing today, or like what am I supposed to be doing right now, right this minute, I just go to Notion, or I flip out my phone, and then I'm just like, oh, focus here, right? This is just me prompting myself to say, hey, this is where you're gonna focus, so focus here. I do use the iOS widget. There's a brand new widget on iOS 14 that lets you click right to a Notion page directly, so I'm absolutely in love with that. And it kind of serves as just my very easy to-do list in a day. It's the only page I look at all the time, every day. So over here, let's click through to where my projects are. Now, I have to say, before Notion, I really kept my projects in separate workspaces, and that's actually what I did when I first moved to Notion. Like, every project had its own page, so every project lived in its own area on the sidebar. But then I realized I really did not like clicking to all these things just to see different projects. Later, we will see how everything does fit in. But so I realized that, hey, maybe the best way was to consolidate all these things into just like some kind of list view where I could see the project name, the status of the project. So maybe if it's started, if it's not started, if it's, you know, the next thing that I'm doing, if it's an ongoing thing, kind of like content creation in my case, newsletter, lead generation, those things are ongoing for me. And then I also have like a maybe/someday list, because I think that's important. I think it's just great to have your ideas somewhere, but not completely nowhere, because you might forget about them down the road. So that's something that I like to have. That's exactly how I do things. And at a glance, I can already see what are active tasks for these projects. Active tasks are really things that I have already put on my calendar. I will work on this for sure. Maybe it's not It doesn't have a date just yet, but I know that because it's here, it's gonna have a date. If we go back to our focus here, you're gonna see that there are some things that don't have a date. And when I click through here, some of the things have those little markers, those little ticks that I mentioned. And so I can safely ignore those because I know that I can only work on these things once the thing that is currently on my calendar, which is the task that precedes this task, is done. So I can look at the things that don't have that little tick. And sometimes I'm like, what is edit menu and headers? What task is that? So I can just view, and then I'm gonna see, oh my gosh, it's part of my website improvement project. So that's really, really handy. So this workspace right here, I'm not gonna show it to you because it's a little private, and the reason it's private is because a lot of my client information is here, and I like to keep that very private for my clients' sake. But just know that this workspace is really where I keep track of my clients' progress, projects, things like that, where they are in my program, so I know how to move them forward, where they're particularly stuck, so I know on my next calls with them, my next coaching calls, I know where they are and things like that. It just helps me make sure that nothing falls through the cracks, because sometimes we forget about things, or a client moves their program and I'm not able to work with them for a few weeks. So I really want to know where it is they are, and this is that workspace where I keep that. And now we go into the mother load. This is where a lot of the things happen on the back end, and where a lot of the focus here planner page will make the most sense to you. So I call it the mother load because that's really what it is. And let me show you exactly what it is in its entirety. So there we go. That's a whole thing. I never look at this view, by the way. I'm actually never on this view, but I like having it just in case, I'm feeling crazy and I just want to see all the stuff there. What I usually do, I use the mother load page for me to help me plan out my content. So major content for me are blogs, videos, even newsletters. Those are major content for me. So I will plot them out here. Anything that shows up means I haven't scheduled it yet, or it's not queued up ready to be published. So I'm still working on it. And everything else that has been scheduled or published disappears. I also like to use it to plan out Instagram posts, for the entire month. Yes, that's how full my December Instagram calendar is. Or sometimes I want to look at my entire content as a whole and see things. I like looking at this view when, after I've planned out my major content, I can just go look into how can I create micro content like Instagram posts that actually support these, that promote these things. Sometimes I don't always get to do that, and that's okay, but at least I know that I have a view on my Notion page that lets me do that, especially when I'm planning out even big things. Like here, you can't really see in my content calendar, but I am in the middle of a launch, for example. And so at least I can mark here somewhere that, oh, this is the last day to join my program. I know that I can create micro content and even major content all about the program and stuff like that. So that's really the reason why I keep all of this in just one space. Again, I don't always look at this specifically. This is only helpful for me when I'm actually planning out the content for the month, or when I'm trying to remind myself when are things supposed to be out, just when you just want to be sure when things are supposed to be out and you're not sure where you are. This is where I keep like a brain dump of things. They're not very organized. There is no system to how I organize my brain dumps. It's just a thing that exists on itself. Some of these things are empty, I will admit, because sometimes I don't plan out that far ahead, but I like having it when it's there. And I also like it so even if I'm out and about and I think, oh my god, I have this great idea for a newsletter, something just happened to me, this would be great newsletter content, I can just whip out my phone, go to this Notion page, just jot it down, and there it goes. Okay, so you kind of see where everything is in the back end. So this is like all the content, all the major events that I'm planning around for my business and my blog. And also, I can't believe I almost forgot to show you. You guys wanted to see like what were inside each of these cards, like why were there so many empty properties in my focus planner. So over here, when you click through, this is where a lot of the things you might not see appear in the focus here page. So here is where I put platform. If it's a YouTube video, then I'll just put it in the YouTube pipeline. If it's an Instagram, we'll see that later. So we'll see if, so I'm shooting. So I'm obviously gonna finish shooting this in a while, so I can just switch it to making/editing because that's how I think about it. It's assigned to a free content project because that's an ongoing task for me. And you can also see that there is a task on the planner. So this is linked to a specific task that is on my planner, the Focus Here planner, if you remember. So it's already here. So I know that, okay, there are tasks on the planner. That means it is on the planner. That means this content piece is going, it's moving, we're gonna be fine. So that was an example of a YouTube one. Here is an example of an Instagram one. So again, I just select that the platform is Instagram and it is an IG post type. I just give myself ideas because I do my entire Instagram planning on this thing. So I just want to make sure that I'm as organized as possible so that I don't have to think about things on the spot. So these are all things that I plan out beforehand. And you saw that there was a YouTube pipeline for a YouTube video. This one has an IG pipeline. So what's in that are like, oh, it needs an image because obviously you can't post on Instagram without one. It needs a caption. I'm going to schedule it. It has all those things. It's just not yet on my social media scheduler app. And so when it's scheduled, it's scheduled. So things like that. It's really, really, really simple, really easy. It took a while to set up, I have to admit, but it has just made the process so easy to work with. I know this seems like a lot, but honestly, I'm never really spending too much time doing this. And when I do add a new thing, for example, let's just pretend that I'm going to add a new, let's say a new video, like, hey, a new video. Let's say that how I would set this up was, okay, a new video usually for me means it goes with a free content project. That's where it goes. It's going to link to that. It's hidden properties, so I'm just going to fill this out. It is a new video. It does not get a priority. It is a platform, yes, so it's on YouTube. And then the YouTube pipeline, let's say I decided that I want to start on this, so it's not on the brain dump list, but it is something on my calendar, so I will put it as started. And then, you know, when I actually want to work on this, when I actually want to outline it, I'll just move it through and things like that. And then I can actually add an entire task on the planner right here. So maybe the first thing for me is outline this video. I'm going to say that, and it can create a new page in the life list. And then we can click through to here. And then this is where I assign it to the planner. So priority, let's say, you know, maybe it's not like a first priority thing for me. Let's say it's like a third priority thing. And then I can assign it to a project. Sometimes I don't assign tasks to projects. I keep that for like main content pieces, things that are going to be published. But you know, sometimes I will. Again, it's a task. It doesn't have a platform. It's not part of any of these. It is going to link back to the specific video. That's actually why I love the Notion relational databases. And from here, so again, we said this is outline this video, and I know logically for me, after I outline the video, I'm going to shoot this video. So that's just an example of how I would set this up, and I'm going to add that, and I'm not going to add anything in this yet until I am done with this. And then so when I am done with this task, again, I'm going to move here, click through here, do it all over again, and then go back to this thing. And assuming that I already finished it, I will check it off and it's gone from my life and from my planner. So when we go back to the Focus Here calendar, my planner, you can actually only see the things that are tasks. And I've actually set it up as like a filter, so I make sure that it's not a content piece, because if it has a platform, if there's a property assigned to it that is a platform, so it could be assigned a YouTube or an Instagram or a blog or a newsletter, and if it is not empty, that means it's not a task, it is a content piece, so I don't want to see it. And I also make sure that the little tick box, the little done box is also not checked, so I can only see the things that I am pending. So the moment that I check anything off, it disappears out of sight, out of mind. Okay, this page is actually a fun one because I have a program right now. It's a brand new program, and I actually wanted to recently share what I was working on, future content roadmap for this program. So I just wanted to show people what it is that I'm working on. So this is just a thing. This is a public page. Actually, if you click here, you'll see that it is viewable by anybody on the internet with this link. So I just made this like a kind of like a database, kind of like a wiki, just showing people what to expect from me, like my secret podcast, which isn't a secret because I'm talking about it here. Bonus courses, I have a couple in the works, so people can see how far along I am. This is very subjective. There's no thing that adds up this progress. This is just me and my own basis of how far along I am, so people can see who's gonna get this. Most of the bonuses are available for everyone else, but there are some that I only reserve for, like, you know, my one-on-one clients. because you know you gotta give them something, right? And finally, you can see when I plan on releasing these things, so that's just cool. And I will always update, like when was the last time that I made an update to this, because I just worked on these things. So that's just a fun little page I wanted to show you. Speaking of fun pages, I keep my whole money thing. I'm not even going to click through here, but I don't mind showing you this page because it is a linked embed. I mean, it is an embed from Google Sheets. If there's one thing I can say that I don't like about Notion, it's how hard it is to create a spreadsheet. I don't think there is a way to use it as a spreadsheet thing, just like Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. So all I can really do is embed Google Sheets into this thing. So this is really just how I keep track of like my sales for the entire year, month by month and stuff like that. And okay, we're going to go into a fun, just like how I organize my life, how my brain kind of likes keeping things for fun. I know a lot of people use Notion for journaling. A lot of them use it as a photo journal, for example. But me, I use it as a media journal because I like books and shows and movies and stuff. And I even added one for my favorite purchases for the entire year. So I will click through here. I know I did the TV shows. The others are kind of empty. I'm still struggling to remember what I might have consumed this year. So you can see what I have been watching. Most of these are on Netflix, I think. And then I rate them by enjoyment, if it's 5 stars down to like 1 star, and would I recommend it to other people. And the answers are usually just yes, not sure, or no. I rarely say no, by the way. It's always just not sure because I know people have different tastes. And then yeah, me just being nerdy, adding like a bunch of tags where I think that this would be a cool thing for me to remember. And my rationale for this is not only to look back at what I might have watched this year, but also in case anybody asks, even casually, hey, would you have a recommendation for what to watch on Netflix? I can just like whip up this entire Notion page and just be like, yeah, sure, what are you looking for? Do you like quirky things? Do you like fantasy things? Do you like anime? I like this anime a lot, you know, maybe you can check it out, stuff like that. I just thought it would be a really fun thing to have and to keep. And again, I do have the same for books and movies, but this is pretty empty since I am still building this out. This was a very recent page that I just added. And this final folder here, I'm not even gonna show you that because it's really just about the things that I used to have in other project management apps and tools that they don't have their own home in Notion yet. And for me, it's just important to have them there because I don't necessarily want to delete them yet because I might need them in the future. So that's why I call it reference. But I know that, you know, one day down the line, I might be like, oh my God, I know that I had this thing and I'm pretty sure it was on my Trello board. So there we have it. So that was my Notion tour. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope this gave you a little peek into the way I plan things. If you have any questions about Notion, be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more Notion videos from me, just be sure to let me know again via a comment or like this video or share this video, whatever the heck it is. Just let YouTube know that this video is doing well and you want to see more like this, and I'll be sure to get right on that. And as always, thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, you know, all that awesome good stuff. I really appreciate you, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!